What's up? We're going to talk a little bit about major arpeggios. Major arpeggios, as they correspond to the caged sequence. The lord of all guitar fretboards. Oh, this guitar is in flat. It's tuned flat. We won't mess with that and confuse people. And plus, no one wants to be in the key of C flat. That would be scary. Okay, so let me show you what I am looking at today with Babam. Okay, so I'm going to start with this. It's just open position C chord. It's pretty, self-explanatory. So you're playing, hey, look, it's a guitar. And let's put some light on it. Yeah, okay, fine. Groovy. Is that working? Okay, great. So it's just open position. And I just put a fermato on the last note at the end to say, hey, go back to that C at the end. Make sure you're centered in C. As a matter of fact, I would recommend when you're practicing these arpeggios that you go ahead and fire yourself up a drone. Now, I use iTabla Pro because it's what I like. But I used to, before I had this, use a Regini device. And before that, I used to put a couple of 9-volt batteries on like a couple of C's octave apart on a keyboard that were showing me, that were just giving me like an organ patch or something, just to give that C. But you could also just use, you could make a loop of a power chord. Fine. When you're playing these in this way, if you're playing these, of course, it would make sense to practice these to sweep pick them. Essentially, you're going to play down, up, I would play down, up, and then the rest of these down, and then up, and then down, and then the rest of these up, and then down, and then maybe down, whichever you like. I've practiced it a bunch of different ways, so we'll see what I might actually do here. But, right? That makes sense, sweeping it. Just straight across. I added an extra note. Like that. But it's not, I'm not really that beholden in there to what notes of the arpeggio you're playing, and in fact what order you're playing them in. The point is that you just want to get familiar with those notes and where they are in relation to each other, and the drone helps you associate where your hand is with the sound more so than just thinking about places and names of notes. And it can help you focus on the part of the chord, right? If you say, oh, I play that first note, oh, that's the third, there's the fifth, there's C, that's the root. This guitar sounds a little bit funky. I think it's all a little sharp. So I'm just going to stretch these strings a little bit. And then if that doesn't work, a little bit better. Okay, fine. And while you're exploring the C position of this C shape, it's obvious in open position, a good thing to do is play them in groups. Play 3 notes. Or play 4 notes. Stuff like that. Just to explore, because if you're actually playing arpeggios in the course of your making music, most of the time you're probably not going to play all the way across the entire position. So you can practice it in various ways and get a lot of benefit out of that. Okay. So the next the next position is going to be, this has two positions because it put two measures on the same line, but the A form, you don't run into, in open position, you don't run into too many fingering issues because, hey, you just hold a C chord and you're all good. But so just take a look at this real quick, and then I'm going to demonstrate what I'm doing there. Which is, let's see here, ba-bam, like so. Something like, oh wow, look at that. I'm going to do a little shift just because I felt like going up to the C at the top. So what am I doing here? I'm actually using two fingers on the 3rd fret of the E and A. And then I'm using a bar across the D, G, and B strings. It's pretty useful fingering. I like it. You could play it another way. Some people will bar with the middle finger. I'm not a huge fan of that, but some people will do it. I can also play this. I'll play it sometimes using 3 fingers up here, especially if I'm going to do that. And so let me just look at those 3 note groupings a little bit. If you want to get these notes separated so that you hear individual notes rather than a chord, which you might if you're playing like a high gain sound or something, or if that's just the musical result you want, you might use separate fingers. Okay, so now let's see what kind of trouble I get into. Something like that. See how I did that? I'm gonna go 1, 3, 4. Oh, and then I switch 2, 3, 4. It's a little bit tricky. And you might start, what I would recommend is start with one simple fingering, perhaps this one, just to learn the geography, just to learn the area and the sounds, maybe a little slower. A little flat. Still a little flat. Okay. And just to learn the geography, and then explore what you can and cannot do with that fingering, how it might limit you. There are various permutations. Like what I was observing a minute ago about if you want these to ring out as a chord or not. Well, with this it's hard, with this bar it's harder to get them not to do that, to have individual notes if you want. Oh, look at that. That's crazy. This is very challenging. Try this. 4 or 3, 4, 3, 4. And, I don't recommend working on multiple options and multiple fingerings at the same time, but continuing to come back to the arpeggios and expand your vocabulary of fingerings so that your choices, so that in whatever music you're making, you can move around freely, however you need to. Okay. Take that as far as you want to take it. The one thing I do want to comment on here is this. Is that this is what we call a shift, or a hand throw, some of my friends call it, which I really like. And this is something delicate that you really kind of want to work on. It moves you out of position. It's good for arpeggios because sometimes you want to play things that expand beyond the position that you're in. And I like calling it a hand throw because you want to use the same concept that you use in throwing and catching a ball, which is that before I move, I want to visualize where I'm going. Especially, you can't see because the hand's in the way, but I want to visualize where I'm going. So I'm here and I'm thinking, okay, yeah, I'm going to go to the 8th fret. And you kind of look it in. And then once you get to know that spacing in various positions, in various keys up the neck, you may need to look less. But these shifts or hand throws are probably the most technically challenging aspect of this. Okay, groups of twos, groups of threes, etc. The next one is that G form. I'm gonna go back to the tab there. Yep. And let's see what I did here. Oh, here I didn't do a shift, but maybe I'll do one just for fun. So that's just in that position. You can see it's in the shape of, this G chord. You can see with the right hand I'm doing kind of some sweep style picking. Get my foot up here a little bit easier for me. Adjust the camera. Okay, that'll be good. And oh, whoa, I did something crazy there. Check this out. This is a fun thing. It was not in the tab, but it's going to mix. Here's G form. And you can explore that 3 notes and 4 notes. Things like that are good to do. And then you can explore the next one's E form. Sorry, that was a little sloppy. Let me go a little bit slower. And then you can combine them to get a wider range if that's what you're into. Or just simply to be able to travel a little bit further in the neck if you want to be able to get somewhere for the next part of your phrase. And so what you can see I did is I added a shift or a hand throw. I went 1, 2, 3. I went do, mi, so, do. And I shifted on that do. I haven't warmed up today, I'm going to be honest. Something like that. And it's fun to just kind of think about. Whoops. Oh yeah. Why don't I try warming up now? Okay, fine. Yeah, let's do that again. Still sloppy as heck. Ugh. You know what? I think it is that I don't really usually play it that way. How do I play it? Oh, I do it like that. I use the 3 and 4. I don't really usually like using the bar. I just started using the bar down there and started thinking about it differently. Like so. So that's your kind of E form of the C chord. And then there's your D form. Oh, check it out. That's pretty awkward. Okay, so these are the fingering pitfalls you have to think about, is with this D form, if I'm going there, I can't get there from, well, I should say it's inconvenient to get there, to move my index finger over. So what I might do, watch that. Something like that. So I use my third finger, first finger, and then gently nudge my second finger in there. First finger, third finger. You can do that. Or if you like, if your hand likes it better, you could play it and play the third up there. I would learn one or the other at first, and one option or the other, and then perhaps learn the other option as well, because sometimes for certain things that you may want to say musically, one or the other might be more useful. Okay, and then you're back to the C form, but you're way higher up the neck, so your fingering choices are going to be different. Something like that. And the last thing I'm going to say about this today, because I think this video is getting quite long, is that I would explore all of these positions in, like I said, in 3 or 4 note groups, but maybe up and down the strings as well. So you could play from so to so, from G to G, and then sorry, wake up, Cohen. So I'm going from me to me, an octave down. Because usually, in most musical circumstances, maybe what you're going to need of an arpeggio is maybe an octave tops. Unless you're playing some neoclassical things. Nothing against that. But, I mean, if you're playing the typical kind of classical rock that's like my meat and potatoes, I'm not sweeping massive arpeggios up and down the neck. And this is a really fun game that you can play in terms of learning the connection of your fingers and how your hands move to the sounds. I'm still using the drone, which is to say, okay, I'm going to start in this E form. And I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to start on this C right there. Well, if I start on my 4th finger, how can I make that 4-note arpeggio, that full octave? Well, that one's fairly straightforward. Now, if I start on my 3rd finger, it's the same fingering. If I start on my 2nd finger, my options change. It's more like I'm in D form. Perhaps. And if I start on my 1st finger, oh, what are my options going to be? Oh, I'm going to do a shift right off the bat. Like that. And it's easier to end there. So you can look at how arpeggios move you up and down the neck, and I think it's really good to look at these permutations starting on different fingers, because you might be just in a certain place in the music you're playing. You might be on this finger, you might be on that, you might be on that, and it gives you a fluency and a freedom to move around the neck. I'll just show you that in one other place. So once you've got this cage sequence stuff together, hey, I'm going to start on the C here at the 5th fret of the G string, so it's sort of like this G form. Oh, if I start on my 1st finger, well, I could bar it. That's pretty easy. This is also possible. This is kind of maybe not so efficient, but it's just I don't know. Depending if you wanted the articulation a particular way, you might enjoy that. If you start on your 2nd finger, what happens? You have to do a shift. 3rd finger, same thing. Same shifting, but different articulation on the end. And then if you start on your 4th finger, you end up having to bar it. And that may be overly thorough for some of y'all, and that's totally fine. I just like to be able to have that freedom, so that I can, play any musical idea that I'm capable of at any given time. Okay, I hope that was helpful for some of you guys. I'm going to now try to find the lighting so that I can bid you adieu and, enjoy your arpeggios going up and down the neck. Major chords are the center of the universe musically, and minor is like a deviation from major, so once you figure out those major arpeggios, you can just flat all the 3rds and look at the permutations of the minor arpeggios as well. Okay, if you can't be good, be careful.